Competition is heating up in the ute market, and Kia is the latest one that wants in on the action with this thing, the all-new Tasman. Now, we've done plenty on this car so far. Touched on the design, pretty controversial. One thing we haven't done is get behind the wheel, and that's what we're going to do today. Now, it's not going to be a full drive. I am here at a four-wheel drive park, but that gives us the chance to test one of the core aspects of this Tasman, how well it goes in the rough stuff. But before we get into all those details, make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel, tell us everything you think in the comments below. The Tasman is new to Kia, but it sticks to a very familiar formula. Diesel engine, ladder frame architecture, and rugged looks. Now notice I didn't say good looks, because there has been a whole heap of controversy about the design of this thing. It's certainly distinctive, it stands out, and the interweb has debated it to death about whether it's any good or not. I'm not going into any of that today. Today's all about what this thing is like to drive. The Tasman lineup kicks off at a bit over 40 grand plus on road costs. That's for the rear wheel drive model. Most people are obviously going to gravitate towards the 4x4s. They kick off at about 50 plus on roads. That's for the S model, the entry level. Then you step up to the SX, the SX Plus, the X line, and the top of the range off-road focused X Pro. That's this guy here, and that starts from about 75 grand plus on roads. Initially, the Tasman will be available as a dual cab ute only, so 4 doors, 5 seats, but down the track later in 2025, we're expecting single cab models and also cab chassis. There's a decent swag of standard equipment, including a massive pixels across the dash, wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. You also get an electronic brake controller as standard. Now the warranty, you're looking at 7 years, unlimited kilometres, same as any other Kia. In terms of service intervals, we're looking at 12 months, 15,000 Ks. Costs haven't been determined just yet. There is a catch there though. If you're using the car for commercial purposes, and let's face it, a lot of ute owners will, then the warranty caps out at 150,000 kilometres. Under the bonnet is a 2.2 litre 4-cylinder turbo diesel. It's a fairly familiar unit, been used in a whole bunch of Hyundais and Kias, SUVs. It's hooked up to an 8-speed automatic. Now it makes 154 kilowatts of power. That's on a par with most of the utes that it's competing with. But 440 newton meters of torque, that's a bit down on most of them. Now the engine itself hasn't changed, but there are some key details under the bonnet here. So for example, the fan, it's actually been beefed up, made to be able to help cool things down a bit more in that sort of heavy duty off-road environment. And the airbox, well, it's actually obviously over here, but it picks up its air intake from inside the wheel arch here. So it's all about trying to maintain that or keep the water out of the places you don't want it. And of course, if you want to hook up a snorkel, it's pretty easy to do out here, straight up the A-pillar of the windscreen. One thing with the Tasman, it has plenty of ground clearance. You're looking at 252 millimetres. So plenty of space between whatever it is you're going over and the underbody of the car. In terms of protection, you've got a bit of steel underbody protection up front there, not a whole lot through the rest of the car. So I think those people getting serious with their off-roading will probably turn to the aftermarket once you get to here. But the hardware generally is pretty good. You've got a locking rear differential, standard for example, and a part-time four-wheel drive system. And it's one of the better part-time four-wheel drive systems because obviously you can run in rear-wheel drive, but also it's got a 4-auto mode. So you've got the ability to run on-road with that extra traction anytime you want. There's been a heap of controversy about the look of this thing from out there, but in here it's a really different story. It's big, it's loaded with tech, and it's really well presented. It's sort of purposeful and also a tiny bit stylish. You've got some different finishes and materials, even this sort of recycled plastic with a bit of fleck in there to liven it up a bit, and the mesh stuff that goes across the dash. Again, it's just a little bit different, something other than plain old plastic. Although I'm not sure I'd want to be cleaning that out once the dust has settled in there. There's also plenty of thought that's gone into the storage around the car. So not only have you got a really broad center console, which has got some storage under here, and you can create a bit of a table, but you've also got a couple of man-sized cup holders, nice big binnacle up here for wireless phone chargers, double glove box, pretty cool. And in the back, even the seat back storage pockets are a little bit different. And even outside the car, you've got a nice little storage tub. Not quite sure what you use it for, but it's something a bit different. Like other Kias, you've got dual 12-inch screens, as well as a 5-inch screen in the middle to adjust the ventilation. But Kia has also kept a bunch of physical buttons, which is great. So, for example, to adjust the temperature and the fan, you've got these toggle switches down the bottom here. You've also got some main menu buttons, again, to take you to the commonly used features on that screen. Plus, you've got some logically laid out controls on the steering wheel. So in terms of functionality, certainly does a decent job. There's also no shortage of gear, particularly once you step up through the model range. This one, I mean, it's the X Pro, so the most expensive Tasman you can buy, and it's got plenty of gear. Heated seats front and rear, got really nicely trimmed leather, ambient lighting, sunroof, so certainly packed with features. In terms of the screen, the infotainment, it's fairly familiar Kia gear. So you've got obviously the ability to go through your Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, so that phone connectivity, but there's also a couple of extra screens on here. So a trailer mode, for example, so you can go into that and adjust the type of trailer, give it a profile for the trailer you got on the car. It will then adjust a whole bunch of other parameters from things like gear shifts and throttle positioning and so on. But this is one of the more interesting ones, so your off-road mode. So you go into that and you've got a whole bunch more information about the car. Obviously tyre pressures, for example, but also your pitch and roll, so the angles that the car is on, various temperatures, and you can even go into basically a see-through camera. So it uses the forward-facing cameras to give you an idea of what's going on beneath the car. So when you're off-roading, you can learn a little bit more about wheel placement and try and get things a bit more right in terms of off-road driving. Kia is shooting for a 5-star NCAP safety rating, so it's got a full complement of airbags and you've got the latest driver assist technology, so autonomous emergency braking, driver monitoring, all those sorts of things. But there is one catch with that NCAP rating. So Kia's actually got 2 different bumper bars on this car. So your upper ones, for example, they're a bit more off-road focused and they have a more aggressively angled bumper that is better suited to off-roading. The rest of them have a bumper that basically can help it get that 5-star rating. So the expectation is that while most cars, the sort of fleet-focused ones, will have a 5-star safety rating, some of them will be unrated by NCAP. Now, of course, the Tasman is designed to go where no Kia has gone before, so you've got some extra off-road controls in here. And they're actually really nicely laid out. You've got these 2 toggle switches, one to select the downhill brake control and X-Trek mode, which is only on this top model car. Similarly over here, you can choose between 2 high, so rear-wheel drive, 4 auto, 4H and 4L. And again, it's a really nice, easy toggle switch that makes it happen. Plus, it comes standard with electronic trailer brake control, so you can adjust the brake balance for the trailer. So that's pretty cool that it's all nicely integrated. That size up front also translates to space in the back. You've got good headroom, for example. You've got exactly the same large door handles inside, and a lot of that similar thinking from the back seat to the front. So the ambient lighting, for example, it glows really nicely off the doors. You've got the same sort of meshed air vents here. You've also got a bit of tech, so as well as things like USB-C chargers on the seats and a 240 volt regular power point down here. Plus there's even some storage under the seats. One of the coolest bits of the Tasman is the adjustable backrest. So even as it is now, it's not too bad in terms of comfort, but I can also slide the seat forward, get rid of a bit of knee room, but have a more relaxed angle, which is pretty cool for long road trips. Now, of course, utes are designed to carry heavy things, and the Tasman can certainly do plenty of that, starting with towing. 3.5 tonne tow capacity, so it matches all its key rivals there. Getting into it, well, you've got a side step there, just like a Ford Ranger, and the tub itself, well, it is actually fairly large. Not only broad, but also really deep. You've got a tub liner there as well to protect the base of it, as well as 4 fixed tie-down hooks. And you've also got these adjustable rails. So in terms of keeping luggage secure or your cargo secure, does a decent job there. Now the payload, well, it can be over a tonne. And when I say can be, one of the more interesting features with this car, you can actually adjust the payload. So if you want to get those tax advantages for having a sub 1,000 kilogram payload, well, you can tick that box on this car. Nothing actually changes with it, but it does change the rating for the car. But of course, the big thing people want to know with the Tasman is how it drives. This is my first time behind the wheel, and right from the start, it feels ute-y, which I guess is not terribly surprising. The interior in some way makes it feel, I don't know, a little bit more upmarket, a little bit more classy than a lot of the utes out there, but it's still got plenty of that ute flavour. You've got a diesel engine grunting away there, and the engine feels like it's got decent punch. It doesn't quite have the torque of other utes, but the transmission seems pretty smooth. But given we're off-road, we may as well test it in some more serious off-road stuff. We've got a little creek crossing here. Not terribly challenging, but it'll get the tyres dirty. And again, you can feel the bumps, but it also seems to dispose of them pretty well in terms of you get that jolt, but it's dealing with the hits without the slightest issue. One thing you also notice is the traction control system seems really nicely calibrated. So occasionally when it starts to wheel spin, when it starts to slip, you can hear the electronics working away but it starts to find traction. It starts to make the most of what it can. Obviously, some of these roads are pretty slippery, they're pretty muddied up, but this thing's doing a pretty good job of sniffing out some grip there when it can. Now, there's a standard part-time all-wheel drive system, so we'll bring it to a stop, pop it in neutral, and go down to 4 low. And that's a pretty easy selection. So that was, I don't know, maybe 2 or 3 seconds tops to get from 4 auto into 4 low. So certainly pretty smooth, effortless the way it did that. And obviously now that we're in 4 low, you're going to get the engine revving a fair bit more. We've got much lower gearing, but again, you can feel that traction control working there, and it seems to be doing a pretty good job. Now, the Tasman also has really good off-road credentials. We're looking at 252 millimetres of ground clearance, so plenty of space underneath to try and ease it over some pretty gnarly stuff. We've also got good approach and departure angles, at least on this car we've got. The car we're in here, it's actually got the more aggressive, the more off-road focused bumpers, so it's designed for this sort of thing. And that wheel articulation, it seems to be doing a pretty good job. We've got some moguls there that are sort of trying to, I guess, put different loads on different corners of the car, and it seems to adjust the suspension accordingly and make sure that at least sometimes it's got 4 wheels in contact with the ground. It also seems pretty quiet, pretty refined. Yes, it's a ute, yes, it's a workhorse, yes, it does all that hardcore stuff really well, but it also seems to cosset people in the cabin pretty nicely too. And having these off-road modes, being able to effectively see through the bonnet and see exactly what's under the car, that's sort of handy in this situation where you can better place the tyre, better figure out exactly where to put it. So using a bit of technology while also getting the heavy-duty stuff done. There's only so much you can learn on this sort of off-road course. There's obviously not a whole lot to play with here, but it does give us a taste test, and it's clear that the Tasman has some pretty solid off-road credentials. It's certainly pretty capable, and looks like it's going to take the fight to some of the better ones in that category. So that's a bit of a taste test of the Kia Tasman. Clearly not everyone's sold on its looks, we know that much, but the engineering now beneath the skin, there is plenty of that. It's tough, it's solid, it feels like it's going to shrug off some of the worst conditions Australia can throw at it. And on top of that, it has one of the best cabins in the ute business, and that is important. Now, this car hits the market around about July 2025. We'll be doing plenty with it between now and then. By the time we can get it out on the open road, take off on some big adventures. So thanks for watching. Obviously, tell us what you think in the comments below. Make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you next time.